Hey there, students. Welcome to week 8. I know you're coming from week 7, which was the midterm, and I understand that that was a bit challenging for some of you. I haven't graded the midterms yet, so I can't give you specific individual feedback yet. I will, of course, when I do the grading. However, some of you who think you did really poorly probably didn't do as bad as you thought. If you gave it a good effort, if you practice, maybe you didn't get everything done or maybe everything wasn't perfect, but if you gave it a really good effort, I think you'll be okay with the results. But even beyond the results, what's most important for you to understand when you're learning Photoshop, or actually when you're learning anything, is to keep with the process. It's really not about a grade in the middle of the process. That doesn't really matter much. What matters is as you get near the end of the process, and even throughout the process, are you improving? So take a look at the process, focus on the process, keep practicing Photoshop as we move forward in week 8 and beyond. By the way, we are technically moving out of learning Photoshop now and moving into learning design. That doesn't mean you're going to stop using Photoshop. Of course, you're going to be using Photoshop to do your assignments, and you are going to be graded partially on how well you use Photoshop. So you're going to keep learning Photoshop, you're going to keep practicing Photoshop, you're going to keep doing Photoshop. But now a lot of what we are going to be focusing in on with the lessons and the assignments are graphic design concepts and principles, theory, if you will. For us, when we talk about design, when we talk about art, graphic designers fall into a category called communication artists. If you think about those two words for a second, communication and artist, a graphic designer creates art to communicate. When we talk about communicating, we're talking about communicating a message. So a graphic designer, a communication artist, communicates messages through art. In other words, it is a visual communication, or primarily a visual communication. Graphic designers use typography and text, of course, but our primary skill, our primary talent, what we get paid to do is visually communicate messages. We use a visual language. We understand a visual language. And it's really important for you to realize that we are talking about a language. Just like the language I'm using here, English, maybe you have the ability to speak other languages. Whatever you speak, you are speaking a language with the intent to communicate. That's what we do with visuals. We do the same thing. We are trying to communicate information, communicate messages through a visual language. And just like a normal language, where there are words and sentences and paragraphs, those are ordered in a certain way so that we can make sense of what's being communicated. In a visual language, there are things called principles and elements. It's sort of a loose analogy, but an element you might think of as words, and principles you might think of as sentences. So we put together elements, or we put together words to create principles or sentences. And it's the sentences that really do a lot of the communication. More on that as you read about the principles and elements of design in this week. I just want you to kind of get an idea of what we're trying to accomplish here, and that is for you to get a basic understanding about principles and elements of design so that you can effectively communicate visually. There are going to be 5 assignments due this week. The first one is the overview of the week, pay particular attention to what the assignments are and when they're due, and map out and plan your time accordingly. It is going to be very, very important that you meet your deadlines this week, and I'll explain to you why in just a moment. The second assignment, you are going to spend some time learning about the principles and elements. That's going to require you to do some reading and then taking some of the information that you've read and putting it into a document. The third assignment, you're going to be doing the principles and elements. You're going to create a composition that promotes a particular principle and element. The fourth assignment, you are going to critique other students' work. They're going to post their principles and elements composition, and you are going to critique it using graphic design terms and your own understanding of the principles and elements of design. And then the fifth assignment is going to be you critiquing your own work. So that's what the week looks like for you. And one of the assignments is due on Tuesday. One of the assignments is due on Friday. One of the assignments is due on Saturday, one on Sunday, and one even on Monday. So again, when you do your overview assignment, make sure you read all the information, note when things are due, and get your assignments in on time. And it's really important that you get your assignments in on time, because if you don't, you hinder other students' ability to do their work. Because you have to critique other students' work, and other students have to critique your work. So if your work is late, other students can't critique it. Does that make sense? And if other students' work is late, you don't have an opportunity to critique. So everybody's work needs to be in on time this week. If it's not, you're going to take a serious hit in your grading. Okay, so get them in on time, plan accordingly. Now, when we talk about critiquing, it's important that you understand that when you critique another student's work, you are not trying to say how beautiful it is, or you're not trying to talk about how it makes you feel. I'm giving you some specific information on what you need to tell other students your opinion about their work. So follow that specifically. Be respectful, but you're not helping anyone in critiquing if you don't talk about the issues that you see that might be some problems, because that is the purpose of the critique. If you're going to critique my work, you're going to look at it and you're going to point out the problems or the areas that you think might be improved. You're going to do it respectfully, but if you tell me stuff that doesn't help, then the critique is worthless. What you need to do is tell me things that are going to help improve my work. That's what a critique is all about. So again, you want to be honest, you want to be fair, you want to do it to the best of your ability, and you want to be respectful, but you don't want to just say stuff that really doesn't have any meaning or doesn't help the other students at all. One last thing I want to mention that might help you really begin to see how design works is to take a look at the world around you. Everything is designed. Everything is designed. If you take a look at your car, you look around your room, perhaps there's a chair, perhaps there's furniture, posters, movies, anything you can think of is designed. That's why there's so much opportunity for jobs in the design world, because everything is designed. And with all of this design happening in the world all the time, they all require the same principles and elements. They all require understanding the same principles and elements. They're all based on the same principles and elements. And we actually derive those principles and elements from the world around us, from the environment, from the universe. Even the universe is designed. Well, I believe so. Anyway, you can see design all around you, and there is so much opportunity for design, and it's all based upon the same stuff. So when you learn the principles and elements of design, you are going to continue to grow in your skills with them, and you're going to become a really good designer. And it doesn't matter whether you want to be a graphic designer or a furniture designer or a fashion designer or a environmental designer or a website designer, any kind of designer you want to be. It's all going to come down to the principles and the elements of design. So really focus on trying to learn and understand these principles and elements this week, and we're going to be using them forevermore. Okay, so have a good week, and let me know if you have any questions or any issues.